What is going on? Welcome back to another episode of the PodiumPushers podcast with Justin and Brandon. It is time to recap the Mexico City Grand Prix. So much happened on track, so much happened off track. There was controversy, there was drama. We've got a new championship leader, and that is just scratching the surface of what happened in Mexico this past weekend. I'm feeling incredible, so excited to talk about all of it. Brandon, how the heck are you feeling?
Feeling great. It's been a couple of days since the race happened, and I am still just as fired up about it. It was a great race. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it has been a couple days. We had some travel. We had some work. The weather changed from summer to winter here in Texas. I'm feeling great. It was a race in our time zone. I'm so excited to talk about it. Let us not waste any more time because we are going to have a long one today. There's so much to talk about. Brandon, what is your one-sentence rundown from the Mexico City Grand Prix?
My one-sentence rundown is that the stewarding has to get more consistent. I mean, from the 20,000 different routes cars seem to take into turn one in Mexico, the inconsistency of penalties given versus penalties not given. And then, we have stewards running across the track in front of Formula One cars, or not stewards, marshals running across the track in front of Formula One cars. And then at the end, we have the whole virtual safety car thing, which we'll get into more later. But it just seemed across Sunday extremely inconsistent. And honestly, I was pretty disappointed. I feel like one of the most disappointed I've been in the inconsistency of the stewarding. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same situation as last year. We've gone to Mexico 2 years in a row, and we end up with some crazy penalty situation having to be sorted out. Through the whole race, you have penalties given out, controversy. Penalties not given out, controversy. VSC at the end, controversy. No VSC for something at the beginning where letting marshals run across the track, controversy. Like every single decision that was made by the FIA this weekend, just absolutely insane. We will absolutely talk about more of it later. We will go into a deep dive on the VSC, some of the penalties. We've got that all planned out. But because there's a new championship leader, we've got to talk about that before we even get in, because if I get on a soapbox about stewarding, the whole podcast is going to get derailed. So let's just go into my one-sentence rundown, talk about the championship leader, and we will discuss everything about that when we get to that point in the podcast. My one-sentence rundown from the Mexico City Grand Prix is Lando Norris performs like a champion. We've said something similar early in the season when he had a dominant victory. We said this at Singapore last year when he had his dominant victory. We said, finally, Lando Norris delivers a drive that is worthy of a champion. The problem is he delivers them occasionally, like it's scattered throughout the season. Then he'll have a weekend where he makes a silly mistake under pressure, and we say, man, where was that drive of a champion? And so this Lando Norris, he's got the momentum. This was the drive of a champion. If he drives like this for the rest of the season, he will win the world championship. I'm just worried that based on past evidence that we've seen from Lando Norris, it might not be a consistent thing for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely possible, but he comes out to Brazil and he has another weekend like this. I mean, I'm thinking that Lando is going to be the champion. I think he really just needs to string together these results. I mean, like you just said, they need to be consistent. We've seen fantastic drives from him like this one in the past, but they're often followed by not fantastic drives. And so he needs to come out to Brazil ready to perform, to have another great weekend.
Yeah, well, I've already checked the forecast for Brazil, and we're a little far out, but there is rain forecasted, so I'm worried for the sake of Lando Norris based on what we've seen last year. But you said it, that you think if he has these drives, he's your championship favorite. So is Lando Norris the new championship favorite? He won in absolute dominant fashion this weekend. It was the largest gap of the season. He had a massive gap in qualifying as well. Takes the championship lead from Oscar Piastri by 1 point, but it's felt like this is a long time coming. It feels like he's had all the momentum on his side for the past 3 or 4 rounds. His pace is much better than Oscar's. He's now won this race and taken the championship lead. In your mind, is Lando Norris the new championship favorite?
I think so. I mean, like you said, he's got all the momentum. Oscar has really seemed to be on the back foot, kind of racing, in a reactionary way instead of a, like, oh, I'm going to go win this championship. It seems like Oscar's like defending to try to hold on to the championship, from my perspective. And so, I mean, I think Lando's definitely a favorite. Max, it was a tough weekend for him. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but I think Lando's got to be my choice.
Hey, Max still closed the gap down. He kept it
Yep.
mathematically possible. He's been having such good weekends before this weekend that, Max only closing it down by 4 points isn't the biggest, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of Max's title charge. But I agree with you. Lando Norris is fully the favorite. I mean, if anything sums up how the championship swung this weekend, it's a Lando Norris fighting Max Verstappen on the opening lap and Oscar Piastri fighting Yuki Tsunoda on the opening lap. Like that just summarized the weekends that they're having and the way that their season is the trajectory that their season is on. But in my mind, I'm incredibly confused about Oscar Piastri right now. Like, what is going on with Oscar Piastri? He's been in poor form really since Baku. It seemed like, he was invincible for the season. He was this cold, hard character, didn't let anything crack his emotions. And now he has that crash in qualifying in Baku, crash in the race, and it's just been downhill since there. Like, yes, he outqualified Lando in Singapore, but then Lando got the best of him in turn one and beat him in that race, and Lando was quicker in Austin. It just feels like all the momentum is on Lando's side. Oscar's lost the championship lead. He's solidly behind Lando Norris on pure pace. Do you think Oscar is just choking this championship away?
I mean, that's kind of what it seems like, but we do have to remember right now there's 1 point separating the two of them. So we get into a situation where Oscar kind of flips the script for one weekend and, he's back in the lead. So right now, again, all the momentum's on Lando's side, but all it takes is one solid weekend from Oscar to put himself right back on top.
Yeah, that's true. The Formula One, the big thing is you're only as good as your last race was, and it feels like Oscar Piastri has been stringing these poor races together, and that's the general view of him right now is that he's the McLaren driver in poor form, and yes, he is. But if you just look back a month ago, Oscar was still leading the championship gap. You go back 2 months ago, Oscar had more than a race win lead over his teammate, had 100 points to Max Verstappen. Like that driver is still there. Oscar Piastri didn't forget how to drive that McLaren. Like it could change like that, and he is only 1 point behind his teammate, so it could switch. Another thing that I've been thinking about this whole time in this championship fight is maybe we should have expected this to happen to Oscar Piastri because we've talked about it on this podcast. These are tracks that Oscar Piastri has struggled at in the past, and so I see these stupid rumors online of them saying they're sabotaging Oscar. That's not happening. But it's in my mind, it's not even like maybe there wasn't this big fall off from Oscar. Maybe this is just how he is at these tracks, and we should have seen this coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. You look at it, you know, this season compared to last season, you could definitely say it's a trend, right? We get to the back half of the season, these tracks that are not the European traditional style tracks, and Oscar seems to struggle a lot. So maybe we'll continue to see that trend, and who knows, we'll be champion.
Yeah, but he's definitely not out of it. Yes, not knowing who's going to be champion, there only being 1 point between it with 4 rounds left. We should appreciate that a lot more as Formula One fans right now. Like, there's so much hate. There was the booing of Lando Norris this weekend. Max is still within it. There's 1 point between the leaders with 4 rounds left. Like, let us not look over that. That is pretty impressive. But I think all hope is not lost for Oscar Piastri either. We're going to get to Vegas, which is a track that hasn't been good to McLaren in recent years. Lando Norris has crashed out on his own during the race there before, so he could swing the momentum back there as they're struggling in maybe the lower ends of the front four. We're going to go to Qatar, where Oscar Piastri won his first sprint race in his rookie year, finished P2 for the first time in his career, so maybe he swings it back in that fight. That's 2 out of the 4 rounds remaining. Like, there is still hope for Oscar Piastri. So even though it feels like all the momentum is on Lando's side right now, if you're an Oscar Piastri fan, don't dismay. I think it's easily still within reach for Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it really just comes down to how is he going to approach these last 4 races. We've still got 2 sprints left as well. So a lot of points on the table.
Yeah, and you can say that, oh, sprint doesn't matter. It's only going to be 1 or 2 points. Let's go back to Austin a week ago. How much did that sprint matter? So anytime cars are on track in point scoring sessions this year, with the championship being 1 point between them, yes, those sessions are of maximum importance right now. Let's talk about Max Verstappen. Let's move away from Papaya for a little bit and go to the team that we both love, Red Bull Racing, also known as Max Verstappen Racing. Is Max Verstappen still in this championship fight? Technically, he did close the gap to the lead once again, but it was only by 4 points. And Mexico was supposed to be one of those tracks where he could gain a massive amount of points on the championship lead. We've seen him dominate here in the past. And so we went into it fully confident that Max Verstappen was going to be able to really take another chunk out of that lead. He technically closed it down, but not as big as he wanted, did this weekend in his championship hopes.
I don't think so. I mean, Max is certainly still in it. I mean, like you said, championship is now 36 points off. Um, but he is further away than he probably would like to be. But again, we're coming to a couple of tracks that he's performed really well at in the past. Abu Dhabi's one, as well as Brazil. I mean, we all remember 2024 Brazil. It was quite the race, and it's one of those tracks that I feel like Max just really connects with, and so if there's any rain at all, Max is gonna win. So
Yeah, I mean that is for sure like dream scenario for Max Verstappen is that there is some rain, and when you have rain, you get some other cars there in the mix. You throw an Esteban Ocon in there like you did last year and bump those McLarens down a little bit more. That's a dream situation for Max Verstappen. But even mathematically, he is ahead of pace. We did the math whenever we started this whole Max Verstappen championship talk after the Oscar DNF, and we were like, 11, 12 points a weekend. That's what he's going to need to gain. He's still ahead of that pace. Like 12 points a weekend is 48 points left on the table, and he's only 36 points back. So he's a full weekend ahead of schedule, which definitely had something to do with how much he gained in Austin. So even though this wasn't the weekend that he wanted, and I'm sure he wanted that P2 over Charles Leclerc as well, but even with that, mathematically, Max is still ahead of pace of where he needed to be to close down this championship lead.
yeah, absolutely. And I think Max again, it's the consistency that's really going to bring him to this fifth world championship if it happens. And so with him being able to continue to not, he didn't have the best weekend, but he still lowered the gap, and that's what it takes. And so if Max is going to continue to do that, then you've got a 3-horse race till the end.
Yeah, and that just makes it more exciting. Even if he doesn't win this title, I'm just so happy that he's in it. Like, we went into this year with so much hope that this could be a 4-team championship fight, and then 5 races in, we were like, oh man, it's just going to be the McLarens. And then 10 races in, we are like, this is going to be the most boring inter-team championship fight ever. And now we're like, hold on, this could be a generational title fight once again. So, however it happens, I'm just glad that we're going to see an incredible title fight play out on track.
Absolutely. And the fact that Max Verstappen has a fifth in a row still on the table is amazing.
Yeah, if he wins it, greatest of all time. I'll say it. Sue me. That's going to be my personal opinion if Max finds a way to come back and win this. Let's go back. We can finally talk about your one sentence rundown. We've made it through the championship stuff. So if I need to get on a soapbox and have an absolute FIA certified Justin rant, we can do that. Did the FIA make a mistake by bringing out the virtual safety car for Carlos Sainz? Man, what a poor weekend from Carlos Sainz. Just not the weekend that he wanted. Double speeding penalties, damage, center damage, the whole thing. And ends it off by spinning, hitting the barrier. And props to Carlos, tries to drive his car off the track, but didn't make it all the way off. VSC is deployed. We miss out on an incredible last lap battle between Max and Charles, and maybe with Oscar Piastri as well. In your opinion, was this VSC needed or not needed?
I mean, I would say not needed, because I'm sitting here on Sunday afternoon watching the broadcast, and they're like, oh, Carlos Sainz spun. He's managed to park his car off somewhere. I don't even, watching the broadcast, I can't even tell where Carlos is parked off.
They didn't
And
show it. They didn't show where he was parked on the broadcast. Like, literally, you're not going crazy. They couldn't even show it on the camera where he was parked.
exactly. And so it's like, if you can't even see it, why did we bring out the VSC? And especially on the last lap, and I know the stewards have to make the decision based on the safety of the marshals, safety of the track. Obviously, safety is top priority, but being cognizant and aware of what is going on track is important. Obviously, we're not going to sacrifice someone's life or safety for an on-track battle, but at the same time, when it's like you can't even see where Carlos's car is parked, and we're putting a VSC out, and this is a battle that we missed out on, that probably 2 battles that we missed out on that could very well have championship implications. So it's very disappointing and unfortunate.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we missed out on the battles, but I think we should be very clear that we're not mad at them prioritizing safety. Like, that is always going to come first. And so, yes, we're sad that we missed out on those battles, but I personally agree with you. I think that's the perfect situation for double wave yellow. It's the slowest section on like the entire calendar outside of Monaco. The car was almost completely off track. I think that would have been a perfect situation for double wave yellow. Like, I could not even imagine a scenario where someone spins out and their car ends up there naturally based on how this section of that track flows. I think they were almost trigger happy with the VSC after what had happened to Liam Lawson earlier in the race, that they had sent marshals on the track when they shouldn't have to pick up that debris. Liam Lawson comes around turn one and is right in the middle of the track, finds himself face to face with two marshals, which is just unacceptable for us to let that situation happen in the year of our Lord 2025. So I think that the fact that that mistake was made earlier in the race and that marshals were going to have to take like 3 steps onto the track, not the racing surface, the track, to finish pushing that car off the track. I think that is why they decided to throw the VSC, is because they made that mistake earlier in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. But, again, it's just like, now that seems like the wrong choice. So it's like, why are we making these decisions? And they all feel incorrect.
That feels like a common race direction thing, though, is they mess up a decision and then they're like, well, we're gonna let that affect the next decision we make. No, each decision is its own incident.
Yeah,
Like even
independent.
2 separate racing incidents at the same corner have to be treated as 2 different instances. And it just goes back to your 1 sentence rundown of us needing more consistency from the race direction, from stewarding, from the FIA. There's just so much inconsistency in the sport. I feel like this is the 4th or 5th time we've had to have this discussion this year. And so we need to find a way to be more consistent with this.
Yeah. I mean, not to get too much into that I do think it comes down to having consistent stewards across different race weekends. And, maybe you have a group that they alternate race weekends, or this is the before summer break stewards, this is the after the summer break stewards. I don't know what the solution is, but I think consistency with who is stewarding is the first step in getting consistency in the stewarding.
Yeah, and even if you wanted to have like one rotating position and a core group that's there every time, that's fine too. But we agree fully that we should have some form of permanent stewarding race direction there every single weekend. It would help with consistency. Let's talk about another incident of controversy, Lewis Hamilton and his penalty that he received. How was Lewis Hamilton the only driver in that gaggle of cars on lap 1 to receive a 10-second penalty? Charles Leclerc, insane corner cut on lap 1, no penalty. Max Verstappen pulls a move straight out of Lightning McQueen in cars and has to turn right to go left to not hit the barrier after his corner cut on lap 1. And he cuts the chicane again when he was fighting Lewis a couple laps later. But Lewis goes off at turn 3, misses the escape road, and has handled the penalty. Yes, by the letter of the law, he did not rejoin the track as he was instructed. But in that context, was that penalty too harsh?
I mean, I will say, yeah, I think it's a little too harsh, but I think a penalty there was deserved, but maybe not 10 seconds. I mean, 10 seconds is quite the punishment for that. And, again, going back to the consistency discussion, it's like Lewis maybe was operating under the idea that
everybody else is getting away with it. Let me do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Nobody else is getting a penalty, so I'm going to try this. Or, maybe I don't need to follow this. Again, not the best mindset to have, but still, it just comes down to consistency. And, if we're going to hand out these penalties, everybody should get one. And if we're not, then nobody should get one.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like Lewis Hamilton getting that penalty, yeah, he violated the rules. Like clearly, you can see it. He did not rejoin how he was supposed to rejoin. That's a penalty if you do that. I mean, that's as clear as day, could be a penalty. The problem is not that Lewis got a penalty. The problem is that there were so many other incidents that had preceded that did not get a penalty. Like, yeah, whatever, we can argue Max, he was pushed off. He was on the outside of 4 cars. He attempted to go all the way to the outside wall. That's fine. But Charles Leclerc's move on lap 1, that was potentially the most egregious corner cut I've ever seen in my life. Yes, he gave back the position to Lando Norris. Is that all he should have given back? Like, you could make an argument that he should have let Lewis by as well. And so, in my mind, Charles Leclerc's infringement was way worse than Lewis Hamilton's. And I know we treat lap 1 incidents differently, but still, that was one of the worst corner cuts I've seen in my life. And the fact that he didn't get a penalty is kind of insane to me.
Yeah, I totally agree. It looked very similar to me playing the F1 game. So,
Yeah, can confirm when Brandon and I get together on the F1 game, it is quite the sight to see. Let's talk about Ollie Behrman because what a weekend for the British rookie. Is Ollie Behrman a future world champion? What an incredible weekend for Haas as a whole. Ollie Behrman finishes P4, equals their best race result as a team ever. Did they need to pull out the champagne to celebrate that? Maybe not. Could be a little corny, but hey, P4, got to do what you got to do. He went head to head with Max Verstappen at the beginning of the race and won. He kept Max Verstappen behind like an absolute animal. This was the performance that we have been waiting from him. We went into this season with such high expectations for Ollie Behrman. He's kind of disappointed, but we knew he had this talent. He had this performance in him. He finally gets it done here in Mexico, and I love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going back to last season when he replaced Carlos in Saudi Arabia and he was able to finish and score points there, I was like, man, this kid definitely has something special because that's one of the fastest, most dangerous, and like probably physically taxing tracks to drive in Formula One. And he was able to hop in a car that he has very little time in and score points. That's incredible. And so, yeah, I think we've been waiting for it all season. And it was really great to see. I mean, when he was battling Max at the beginning, I was like, on one hand, this is amazing. I love to see it. But on the other hand, please let Max win the championship. Like, let him through, Ollie. But, it was really great to see. And, I think there is a little bit of an American Formula One fan in me that is like, man, I would love for Haas to be successful. So it was great to see that. And yeah, Ollie definitely has some fight in him. And I think this performance really will give him confidence going forward.
Did the American Formula One fan in you cringe at the champagne for P4, or were you on board with that celebration?
No, I was cringing the whole time. I was like, come on, guys. We can't be celebrating things like that. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like one time I went to the Chicago White Sox and they still got banners up for the 1905 World Series. And it's like, that was 110 years ago. Maybe we should still be celebrating that. But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's the exact meme of the guy like celebrating and putting on the medal and spraying the champagne, and then it zooms out and he's not even on the podium. Like that, they did the meme.
Literally.
Haas did the meme. Like I'm happy for him. P4, that's great. What a drive from Ollie Behrman, but we might have gone a little bit too hard with the champagne celebration right there. So yeah, maybe we cool the jets on that one a little bit. I will spray champagne if I win our predictions championship. We made some predictions for the Mexico City Grand Prix going into this weekend. I was leading 42-40. You closed it down last time out in Austin. Hopefully I extended it this weekend. Driver of the weekend, I said Alex Albon. Could not have been any more incorrect. Gets knocked out in Q1 again. Not great pace during the race. Scores no points. No point for me.
Yep. Yeah. It was a tough weekend for Williams all around. My driver of the weekend, I went with Charles Leclerc, which, although he did cut the corner in the race, he ended up having a great race. Obviously, at the end, he was able to secure P2 from Max. Again, kind of similar performance, I feel like, to what we saw in Austin as well. Just fantastic defense and great driving on tires that maybe shouldn't have provided him with the pace that he seemed to have. So good weekend from Charles.
Yeah, this prediction point was saved by the VSC as well, because if he pulls in a P3, I don't know if I'm giving it to you, but the P2, yeah, I'll for sure give you that point. Backmarker of the weekend, I said Esteban Ocon, which I'm not going to give myself a point for because even though he was soundly beaten by his teammate, he scored points as well and nothing bad happened to him, so no point there.
Yeah, I said the whole of Racing Bulls for my back mark of the weekend. I don't think I deserve that point either. While it was a tough weekend for Liam, at times the car showed pace, and Isaac had a pretty good race. So no point for me there either.
Yeah, Hadjar in Q3 just missing out on points. So not a great weekend from Racing Bulls, but definitely not back marker worthy. This is where it gets tough for us for sure because we're pretty confident in Max Verstappen going into this weekend. Pole position, I said Max Verstappen, which was incorrect.
And I also said Max Verstappen, which was incorrect.
Yikes. And then I'm here looking at my podium and I'm really sad about this VSC and what happened. P3, I said Charles Leclerc, which was incorrect.
And I said George Russell, which was incorrect.
In second place, I said Lando Norris, which was incorrect.
And I also said Lando Norris, which was incorrect.
And in first place, I said Max Verstappen, which was incorrect.
And I also said Max Verstappen, which was incorrect.
Yeah, that was a tough competitive session predictions there from us. One pushing prediction for the weekend, I predicted that someone would retire due to a mechanical issue during the Grand Prix, which is correct. Nico Hülkenberg retired with an engine problem. Thank you, Sauber, for having a car that breaks sometimes. I'm sorry you didn't score points this weekend, but I appreciate you getting me a point.
Yeah, it was a tough weekend for Sauber, but my one pushing prediction was that Oscar fails to finish one of the competitive sessions during the weekend, which did not happen. Oscar
Yeah.
finished all the sessions, just not as high as he would have liked to.
Yeah, maybe he wishes he DNF'd with the performance that he had this weekend. The fans at case_MC013, Isaac Hadjar is announced for the second Red Bull seat, which did not happen. At Iceman_edits, Max, George, and Lando on the podium, which was incorrect. And at Luke Amick42, Oscar Piastri does not finish, which was also incorrect. So all in all, tough weekend from the podium pushers, tough weekend from the fans. Score still a 2-point gap, 43-41. The championship battle continues.
No, it sure does. And I'm excited going into these next few weekends. We've got a couple sprints, more points up opportunities for us as well as the actual Formula One drivers. So
Yeah, last time we had a sprint weekend, you really closed it down. But who would have thought after the trend of this season that we would have had a bigger championship gap than the actual Formula One championship? At this moment, there are more points between you and I than there is between Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. I have a bigger championship lead than Lando Norris currently has right now.
that is a crazy statistic to say, but it is true.
Yeah, and if it stays like that for the entire season, I would not complain in the slightest. That is all we've got for our recap of the Mexico City Grand Prix. As always, thank you for watching or listening to another episode of the Podium Pushers podcast. Before we go, Brandon, what are your parting podium thoughts for these lovely people?
I'm excited for the season that we have left ahead. Championship fight is on the table for 3 drivers. A lot of great racing tracks coming up. Love Brazil. I think that one's going to be fantastic. So, yeah, I'm just excited. I'm glad we have a championship battle to continue to watch.
Yeah, so many incredible tracks still left. We've got Vegas, we've got Brazil, we've got Qatar. Abu Dhabi is a track that is left as well. So there's a lot of things left to happen this season. A championship still left to be decided, and we will be here for all of it. Before you go, be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, do all the things, follow us on social media. We are so appreciative that you let us talk to you about Formula One. We will be back next week to predict the Brazilian Grand Prix. But until then, have a great day, and God bless.
See ya.